Okay.
So it's always interesting when you have technology problems.
Absolutely. Oh my goodness. All right. We look like we are live again. This is take 3. Oh my goodness. No luck today. All right. We were talking about the transport industry. Well, I was about an announcement for 185 million in the north to upgrade roads of importance, roads of strategic importance. I think there are about 22 joint projects with state and federal governments. So that's pretty exciting for our freight industry. And on that topic, obviously these projects are being fast tracked too, given the situation. And, I get quite excited about when we've got serious projects that will help infrastructure in the north, because we have been neglected for far too long and continue to be, unfortunately. And I think COVID may bring about some rethinking that's necessary, and rethinking about what we are in the north and central North Queensland and what we actually have to offer, because we have so much to offer. So on that topic, Brendan, I think we've got a gentleman who works in the transport industry who is in our waiting room, and he's going to come in and make some comments. His name's Clynton Hawkes, I believe, and Clynton has a background in transport and has been living in the north for 10 years, currently in Townsville. So let's bring Clynton on board. Hello, Clynton. Welcome to our show.
Good to be here.
I'm so sorry, we've had some technical issues this morning. I'm not sure why Zoom has been the way it is. It's no doubt the user. It's new to us, but
it's all good, new to me as well.
Yeah. No, welcome to the show. And Clynton, look, tell us a bit about what your views are on how things are in the transport arena, particularly in the north and central north and far north.
Well, you're seeing a lot of people, mainly in the transport, obviously, can't cross the borders. They got to stay in their state. They can't cross. So a lot of people who go to the Northern Territory or to New South Wales are seeing supply chains being broken down because they're classed as non-essential.
Mm-hmm.
So that's really hard for a lot of small transport businesses who can't operate because of these restrictions on their travel.
So how many, just for the people who are watching, so how many trucks do you have?
I got 2.
Yeah.
And my father's got 4.
Yeah. So you used to be classified as small. So
yeah.
So for you guys,
small, yeah.
So for you guys, it's really hit you guys, or?
Yeah, it has. Yeah.
Yeah. And so what's your main trips? Like, where do you go?
To Northern Territory, WA, stuff like that. Yeah.
Because WA shut their borders pretty early, didn't they?
Yeah, they shut them. I'm pretty sure they were more than likely the first people to shut them.
Yep.
If I'm not mistaken, yeah.
Did you have anyone get trapped over that side of the world?
No.
Okay.
Everyone was here.
Yeah. And what do you think about, Clynton, about, the COVID-19 restrictions and the approach that has been applied to the entire state of Queensland?
I believe that North Queensland probably should be allowed to get back on with it.
Mm-hmm.
It's, most small businesses are doing it really hard at the moment, not just in the transport industry, but in all the industries across North Queensland. Many probably won't reopen because the funding and stuff that the government has provided us isn't enough to do it. Yeah.
Okay.
And what everyone can be that, I don't know, sit in the armchair and not be in the hot seat, but what would you have thought the government should have done different, both on a state and federal level?
Really, the regions that have not been infected should have been locked down and allowed to continue operating.
Yep.
So they could continue, providing for their community that they will basically serve. It's hard for people to just shut off, lock themselves in their house, and just keep an eye out, make sure that before they can go back to work. It's difficult. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it is difficult. Now, Clynton, have you been eligible for any sort of
Me personally, no.
or anything like that?
No, not me
Yeah.
personally, no.
Okay.
Yeah.
No. Okay. All right.
And what, like in terms of loss of income, like what are you sort of looking at? 30%, 40%, 100%?
Or getting around those, about that, yeah.
About 30?
Most small transport businesses are looking at that 30%.
Yeah.
They can't operate. A lot of, you can still buy all your spare parts and stuff like that. Many of them are all still open. So, but you aren't getting any income coming in because you can't operate.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think, I think it's been interesting. Like a lot of, like being from a small town, like going up the street, it's just quiet. Like,
yeah,
normally January in a small town, it's pretty quiet. Like just after the hustle and bustle of Christmas, all your pubs, everyone's flowing, and to actually see the towns shut up like this, it's just, I don't know, it's pretty scary. Like it's been, some businesses have kicked on and it hasn't affected them all, but to go up and see your closed stores and places like that just have had essentially just been shut off. It's been pretty scary for them.
Yeah, in Townsville here, you drive past the Bowley Barn, for example, a very busy pub. Not a damn car in the car park. Usually it'd be full on a Friday or something like that. So it's sites like those that may really make your eyes wider. Seeing how these businesses aren't operating at the moment and how they're going to recover when they get back to it.
Yeah, that's the challenge, isn't it? It's about bouncing back. But, North Queenslanders that have a tendency to be able to bounce back. We're fighters.
Tough,
we're fighters, but it's still going to be a challenge, and it's going to be a challenge for, not just the North, in fact, across the country in so many ways. It just seems unfair. I think that, again, I'll make the point that we here in the North and the far North and Northwest particularly as well, we've all been treated with the same set of regulations and rules.
Yeah.
And it probably wasn't, I know there were a lot of unknowns at the beginning, and you can understand how that sense of urgency, oh my goodness, we don't really know what's happening here. We've got to really err on the side of caution. But as time rolled on, it became very evident, and we've got lots of civic leaders, elected leaders are here in the North that are going, right from the very moment I think Bob Catter said, let's quarantine the North, let's that was quite a few weeks ago. And then we've had other leaders, including our federal member here in Townsville, Philip Thompson, say, look, with businesses and with others, this is really ridiculous. It's not logical. It's not sensible.
So some, obviously not everyone likes to hear of politicians, but even doctors, there was a lot of doctors saying if it does get in North Queensland, there just isn't enough beds, and
we have no facilities
and again, people don't like being lied to, but they also you don't want to push panic out there, and that's I think what happened earlier. Everyone pushed, everyone was hitting the penny button.
You saw the supermarkets, people panic buying everything. All because of the news. The news was telling us that it's in our city, it's in your community, and it wasn't. It was just transmission from people overseas coming back. That's all we've really seen in Townsville. There hasn't really been much person to person.
No community transmission. Yeah, absolutely. So we've had some restrictions that have been that lessened. Of course, we can travel within 50 kilometres of our home, which when you live in the north, it's just up the road. And we're allowed to go out with family. We're allowed to, or an individual or one friend. We're allowed to go for a drive or a picnic or to parks. We're allowed to do some shopping for the shops that are open.
Non-essential shopping,
non-essential shopping. That's interesting. And then we're allowed to go fishing, boating, and jet skiing. How good is that?
Unreal, eh? Well, I've seen an article on Facebook, I'm pretty sure, saying that a lot of shops probably won't reopen. They'll stay online. You
Yeah.
know, because of the
Yeah.
Yeah,
trend.
there has been
Because of-
shops that have like shut their storefront down and actually moved online. And
Yeah.
you know,
Now,
again, it begs the question. It sounds all good in cities, but
yeah,
you know, being from a regional area, like I have lived in Mackay before. You'd call it a city, but
yeah,
you know, being from a town, you know, being from the place like Burdekin where there's I think 18,000 people, every store that shuts,
yeah,
you know, you're stuffing up a livelihood of someone, and
yeah.
you know, there's nothing worse. Like
That's
you know,
right.
on a Sunday or on a Saturday when the shop's shut at 2:00. And you're trying to do something around the house, it's game over. You can't just drive over to Bunnings. You can't just drive, you know. Whereas in Townsville, you know, you've got those big multinational stores that kick on and all
That's
that sort of
still
stuff.
open.
So and
Yeah.
they're still
I
open.
spend a
Whereas
lot of time in Moranbah. Same thing again. If a shop closes, you got to go to Mackay. You know, that's still a day's drive in and back.
only
You
a
know,
day.
yeah, only a day. Not 50 kilometres though.
Yeah, not 50 kilometers.
No.
It'll take
All
a few
right.
days to get there.
All right, so just moving on, because I know we've got another person that's going to leap in and we're going to interview, but the other news of the week that, of course, is happening in this part of the world is I was quite pleased, and this is for the Country Women's Association, the Queensland Country Women's Association, so all the ladies out there who've actually remarkably donated handmade masks for frontline workers. So they've donated handmade masks in Townsville, Hinchinbrook, and in the Burdekin. So that's just wonderful that people do band together. And I think it's really reflective of what people are like in the North. Okay, we've got this problem. Okay, let's see what we can do to help one another. And I think that's great. But I also read there's a really shortage of blood donors at the moment. So if anyone is listening to this live stream and has been a blood donor, you know, you might want to see what you can do to assist there again. The other thing, did we get a chance to talk about the NRL return, Brendan, before we were cut off in the live stream?
No, well, I think we lost the live feed. So yeah, the NRL again, you know, so much is around the COVID thing.
Yeah.
You know, the point that I was trying to make is you've got people in those businesses, mainly the sporting ones, because obviously NRL being a sport, rugby league being a sport, and you know, you've got these people who do fitness classes and stuff who are pretty annoyed, and then off the back of that, you've got the likes of Latrell Mitchell. Who's the other two? Cleary. What's his name? Nathan Cleary. And what's the other bloke? Plays winger for Melbourne Storm.
They're not from North Queensland, so
no. just these
just some New South Wales
down
blokes.
south. Yeah.
But you know, you've got those three that obviously broke some laws. You know, I think allegedly they're, you know, handling firearms and all that sort of stuff. Look, you can, depending on what sort of hat you want to wear, you know, obviously they're going to annoy. They've annoyed a lot of people down there because people are being cramped up in their houses. You know, if they were in North Queensland and drove up out the road here and you know, shot some pigs, you know, for me, I would, you know, it probably wouldn't bother me. You know, that'd probably help
only
the
because they're in
environment
the public eye.
Yeah, because they're in the public eye, and
there's a code of conduct. They're, you know, expected to behave in a certain way.
Set an example for you know, the younger generation.
I always hear, you know, people saying, oh, you know, rugby league players and just sporting people in general, oh, they got to set the example. But are they like do we tend to be too, or does the media tend to be too harsh on sports people?
Yeah, they do. Like they're the same as me and you, same as Annette there. They're all, you know, human. They want to go have fun. They want to do what we all do. I think that they are probably too hard on our sporting players because they just want to, you know, live everyday life like we do and then go play their footy.
Like Nathan Cleary, he had some girls at his house. I'm pretty sure it was his house. So it had some girls, I think, you know, maybe I don't know. They said it was his sister or something, but
Yeah.
you know, like, what's he, 21 or 22? A room full of girls. Yeah, you know, given for all the 22-year-old boys out there, would you give that opportunity up if you had a room full of girls?
Well, see, that's the problem then. These footballers who are in the public spotlight, they are, you know, leading an example for the young ones and what's acceptable and what's not acceptable.
Because the young ones, they see them and then they
think, oh, well, that must be all right.
It's cool to do that. Yeah.
I think the reality is when you are playing top level sport, you are in the spotlight no matter what you do. And of course, some of the things that you do may be reported a little differently, and it might not be entirely the full picture. And anyone in the public spotlight will cop that. There's obviously, you know, there might be a backstory that obviously doesn't end up in the media, but the reality is don't put yourself in a position where you are going to be questioned. And of course, if it's reported incorrectly, well, come out and, you know, make your, you know, rebut the situation and take your stance, you know, be fair on me. But, you know, these young fellas are still young. And, you know, we all make mistakes. There's no one that's perfect. And, you know, it's you know, again, you know, it's about, you know, trying to, sometimes people have to learn the hard way, but, you know, remembering that, you know, their mentors and people that guide them, no doubt would drill them on this, that you are in the public spotlight. Okay?
Well, I think the one that probably got Nathan in trouble the most was the fact that some TikTok videos were released after he talked to the after he'd talked to the NRL. So I think that's, you know, he's got some please explain there, and some fans have been pretty harsh on him, but I don't know.
But going back to NRL on the 28th of May, you know, let's draw this back to what that means for the North. You know, I think one of the you know, I mean, I love my footy like anybody here in the North, and I'm certainly number one, you know, fan of the Cowboys. And remember the days when the Cowboys was trying to get off the ground, you know, and before they even entered the competition. So my support for the Cowboys stands strong and forever. But there are some questions around, well, hanging, you know, NRL are able to do this on the 28th of May. What about businesses? You know, where are the businesses in this? You know, why is sport got the spotlight and this, you know, quick sort of announcement, if you like, and what's happening with our businesses, particularly, you know, I would say in the North, and certainly Townsville Enterprise Limited, Trish O'Callaghan has questioned this in the media in the last day or so too. So there's some answers that need to be had. But it does probably suggest a lot about this nation and, you know, how we are a nation that, you know, aligns with our sport hardcore.
Yeah. But at the end of the day, I reckon that if they're able to be open, they're just a business the same as anyone else. So why can't? Well, they're a public business. They're always in the spotlight, whereas a lot of small businesses, they're not. And they don't have that big of a voice to go and put that together. Whereas NRL, they've got a large voice. They can go on the news whenever they seem like it. They're always got articles written about them. But that also comes to a point where why can't small businesses band together, you know, try and push to be reopened? There's no harm in trying at the end of the day. You don't get anywhere if you don't have a go.
Don't try, exactly.
Yeah.
The thing I'll say about that is with the NRL trying to open back up on the 28th, I think the Players Association have come out and I think there's been some senior players that have come out and said, well, yeah, we understand that the season's not going to go for as long, but we want to make sure that we're going to get paid correctly. So it'd be interesting to see how that pans out, you know, and again, how that's viewed from a public eye, because I think the NRL said, okay, you get 80% of your pay. I know for a lot of people who have lost their jobs, I'm pretty sure if they were offered 80% of their pay to do less work, I'm sure they would have taken that option. But again, it doesn't pass that pub test. You know, people are going to go, well, hey, you know, they get to go back to work. They're going to get 80% of their revenue for their household. what about us? And so that's.
And I thought it quite interesting too that Anastasia Palaszczuk made the condition that the competition starts up again. However, social distancing, et cetera, and the shenanigans that have gone on don't happen. And if it does, she's going to pull the pin on it straight away. So, yes, the mother hen has spoken.
Yeah, but then why would you allow them to go back if they break the rules? They're just going to pull the plug. Doesn't make a lot of sense to me at all.
Human error could make it all crash and burn.
Yeah, that's it.
All right, look, I'm just conscious of time and that we have another person waiting in the waiting room to join us.
Hey,
Clynton,
thanks for dropping in, Clynton.
Thanks,
appreciate
mate.
it,
mate. Welcome on our show anytime. Sorry about our little technical issues. I keep checking to see that we're still live too. I'm paranoid we'll drop out again. But it seems like take 3 has been successful. So thanks a lot, Clynton, and we'll talk again soon. You're welcome. No, cheers, mate. I'll just move you. Yeah. All right. Okay, Brendan. Well, we have a special guest, someone that is certainly a Townsville person and knows this part of the world very, very well. And our special guest today is Councillor Les Walker, who was recently returned to office in the recent city elections. Yeah, so I'm going to bring him into the room, into the live stream, and hopefully we'll have him here very shortly. G'day, Les. How are you going? How are you going on this fine Saturday morning?
Better than you guys. I see you've had a couple of goes at
oh my goodness. It is our first show, and I'm a novice when it comes to this. I actually only started using Zoom when I had to start teaching this way. So I'm very, very much a novice. And Brendan, I think, only started last night with Zoom, didn't you?
Yeah, I just mucked around with it last night. I do like technology. It doesn't scare me, but yeah, I don't know. It can't be that hard.
I was quite pleased that we could put backgrounds in, and I think I've got a bit carried away with mine this morning. Does anyone want to have a guess as to what is in my background? It's an iconic place in the north, in the far north, further north.
Well, we were having a look at this earlier, and I said the Clark River, and I think it was Ainsley.
Yeah, well, Copperfield Gorge, yeah. And the little dog there, when I visited the Copperfield, this is a story, and I just had to put him up there and make him famous. He was actually just a random. He was floating around, and I was with my partner, Wayne, and we were wandering around having a look down through the gorge, and this dog turned up, and it was such a friendly little fellow, the ultimate tour guide. So I took a few wonderful pictures of him, but look at him. And then, we left and he cleared out. So it must be his home, no doubt. He probably lives at the pub, which, if anyone knows the area, there's only one pub up that way, and that's the Ainsley pub, quite famous pub. Yes, but Les, anyway, enough of that. I just want to thank you for taking the time this morning to come and chat with us and share some of your story. I think... you've had a remarkable story and continue to have in Townsville and in this part of the world. And could you tell listeners a little bit about your background, where you're born and where you grew up and your education?
Yeah, well, I'm locally born and bred here in Townsville. I grew up in Anoomba, which is the area I represent, Division 10 here in the Townsville City Council. So I've been here all my life. I went to Townsville State High School, Roe State School, went on... had a few jobs. My first job was at Woolworths in the city, the old Woolworths, which is now the Chemist Warehouse. And then I went out and worked at Stockland, Woolworths, Big W at Stockland for a little while. And then I went on to the Meat Works, Queensland Rail, and then I commenced an apprenticeship with J.R. Wiley and Sons back then. It's now owned by A.E. Smith, which is owned by another company.
So refrigeration mechanic or electrician?
It was plumbing.
Plumbing.
And,
okay.
During that time, I worked on the Burdekin Dam project.
Wow.
It was a wow. A bit like that footage, that backdrop you got there. The country was pretty pretty awesome. It's exciting landscape, and to see a dam of that size now sitting across the Burdekin River, nearly 900 metres long.
It took quite a while for that dam to get up, didn't it? I mean, from the,
I think it's from start to finish about 20 years. What you've got to do is go back in history when they map it out, and they've got to survey the country and see the impacts of high water levels. And back in the day, I suppose it wasn't so advanced compared to today on how they get their levels and map the landscape. Now they've got drones and aircraft that can map a lot more efficiently. But very exciting project. A lot of people, hard country, very hard country. When you see them take the top of a hill off to build a second township for the people to live in, to build the actual dam, construction, and a continuous pour, one continuous concrete pour.
Oh my goodness. So, obviously you were working on the dam, but looking back now, who would you say was, the key figure that was ultimately responsible for getting this dam up, or groups of people?
Oh, there's many. I think I'm just trying to think of a gentleman's name that was pushing it back in the day with the state members and the federal members. What do you recall his name?
No, but I think he was a mate with Laurie Frabellis and the first North Queensland State League. I think he might have been connected with those guys.
If you go to social media and look at Lost Towns, well, there's some photos there of little models. They had how the landscape looked, all handmade modelling. Very exciting. And there was a lot of drivers. Well, what you got to remember too was a bicentennial opening. So 1988 was the opening of the dam. So there's a plaque there today with the famous politicians that were there to open it. For those that haven't been out, you need to go and have a look. You need to stand there and look down on it. It's huge. It's a massive building. And just a bit of trivia, the ice machine that was used to chill the water to keep the concrete cold while they did the pour, so it doesn't set so quickly. There's the ice machine that's out at Nice Ice at Garbutt. That's the old ice works from the Burdekin Dam.
Yeah, right.
Wow, that's amazing. I just got a message in. We're still live, are we?
Yeah.
You think we are? I think we are, because someone just messaged me and said, "What happened?" Yeah. All right. So, you were a plumber, and you're involved in, this amazing historical project for the North. What inspired you to go into local government, and how did that come about?
Well, being born and bred and living in this neck of the woods, and going to Town High, one of my teachers at Town High was Tony Mooney. And so, we used to talk about all sorts of things, but when you're in sport and you grow up here and you go to barbecues and different events and people talk about how the city should be shaped and what should be done, I thought, well, less talk and more action. So instead of talking about it, I put myself in the kitchen so I could feel the heat and have my input as best I can.
Okay. How long have you been in local government?
Well, I was in local government from 2000 to 2008, and then the amalgamation took place, which took away all the divisions. I was a Division 7 councillor back then, and then it became an open slather election in 2008, so you had to win across the whole city. I think there was about 47 candidates. I was about number 43, I think, on the ticket. So that ticket hung over the end of the bench, so you wouldn't really get to see the second half of the ballot paper. So unsuccessful, and then in 2012 they brought the divisions back, and I won my old area back under the banner of Division 10 in 2012, and I've been back 8 years, and this is my third term back. So a total of 16 years going, hopefully, to a total of 20 after this term.
Yep.
Okay.
And what's been the best part of, over those years? Like, what's been the best thing that you've probably been a part of?
Yeah, good question, and hopefully you can still hear me. I suppose the rollout of town water, reticulated water in the southern suburbs from Galago through to Nome, Alligator Creek, and the second phase was through to Oak Valley when during a drought there was a big struggle for water, and seeing those people getting town water for the first time and having fire hydrants to protect those properties, and it actually helped the rural fire service as well in a time of need to fill their appliances in bushfires. So that was a good one. That was big. It was a game changer for those areas, changed the value of properties. And now we've gone on to see the big one, Elliott Springs now. being developed and giving people a different choice in lifestyle in the southern suburbs. Yeah, but the rollout of town water was critical. It's a basic infrastructure service. Seeing those suburbs like Fairfield Water evolve over that period of time as well. And now we've got shopping centres, a major shopping centre besides Annandale on this side of the city with more choice. And now we've got a big box facility there with Bunnings and a few others that give people more choice on this side of the town. You don't have to drive to Garbutt and to the other side of the river to get supplies, so which is very, very important. It'd be great to see an ambulance station this side of the river as well.
I can remember just to add about, the water infrastructure for the city. I can remember reading about prior, like many moons ago, prior to the Ross Dam being built, that there was such a significant drought in this city that they were training in at great expense water for the people. And, I think water is critical and key to a lot of aspects for the central and North Queensland. Have you got an opinion at all, or would you like to share an opinion at all about, some of the, what was reported today in the Townsville Bulletin about the funding being held up for the Horton Pipeline Stage 2? Do you have an opinion on that? Because it's controversial at the moment.
Well, it should have flowed on. It's a shame that it hasn't flowed on to the second stage. The first stage is being completed. Yeah. And I think it's very important that while all the infrastructure is there in relation to dongers and equipment and compounds for those companies that have won contracts in the first stage, couldn't be utilised moving on and keeping the actual work rolling, especially now with this virus and everybody's chasing work and there's limitations to what people can do. But I think it gives a vote of confidence and more investment for the region that we have these big infrastructure projects completed. Yeah. It's a shame that it's got to this point. I mean, we've got the new Horton Road being built, that section of highway there to the south of the city, which is $500 million worth of investment on the highway, which was needed. Yeah. Pipelines, dams. We need to look at that closely, how that rolls out, if we want to progress the north and more so Townsville, because Townsville is the hub for the west. And we service so many people with so much, and if Townsville does well and the regions then follow on with those supplies, with the port and the rail network, the road network, and water is absolutely critical. But we've got to be mindful that we are in Australia. It's a dry continent, and we need to learn to use it wisely.
Do you think governments over the last 20, 30 years have fallen short with critical infrastructure for not just North Queensland, but Australia in general?
Yes and no. Yes, we could do with more, but I think what we've got to be mindful of is the country is so big, and when we have to build a highway, it's not like in the UK where it's a very short distance between villages or cities or townships. When we have to build a highway, it's 100 and 200 and 300 kilometres, and you're working at 1.2 million a kilometre for a two-lane highway and some. So when you start talking about the big dollars, you've really got to get the infrastructure plan done well and how that flows, because you don't want to spend money in one sector and something else is handicapped because of those dollars not being used wisely. So I think there's a lot of chicken and egg stuff involved on how we move forward. People have their own ideas what money should be spent on. They should be done on a pipeline, it should be on a dam, it should be on a highway, it should be more rail. Do we need a stadium? Do we need bigger hospitals, more schools? So it is a hard act for any politician. Forget about what party they're in. It is a very tough gig to make sure that the timings are spot on. And look, then you've got the forces of the community wanting what they want in different areas, be it an air-conditioned school, a bigger school, more prisons, more youth detention. So things are pulling in different directions, and that's the hard job of the elected leaders of the community, be it local, state and federal, how that works together to get the right outcomes. And when I worked in youth detention, excuse me, it was a 16-bed facility, excuse me, and it's now a 96-bed facility. Yeah. So there's been a 600% growth in youth detention accommodation facilities. Stewart Prison, when I worked at Stewart Prison, it was a 300-bed facility. Now it's just over 900. a bed facility, which I think is holding more than that. They've doubled up now, so I think they've broken the 1,000 mark in relation to who they've got and what they're doing there with those in custody. So it's a growth industry. Money has been invested in those sectors, and we do need more police as well. But it's a tough act. And when you have this sort of crisis right now, and there's more unemployed, it normally follows that you're going to have more crime, and that's through frustration and unemployment, people chasing some needs in their life. But and there's other factors with drugs and depression and all those mental health issues that we're dealing with.
I've said that for years. Like if you could wave a magic wand, I would think spend the money on industry enabling infrastructure. Get the people out of jail and put them to work, and make sure they can earn a sustainable living. And there'll be some people out there that can't be rehabilitated, but there's some people that have probably made a lot of dumb decisions and that probably need that second chance. But if you don't have that industry that they can walk into or try and get into, it makes it hard. And then obviously, like you said, it's a growth industry in jails, but like, I don't think that's I think most people wouldn't think that's a good thing. I would like to think that we should probably reduce the amount of people in jail and boost the number of people actually working in society to make sure that we're actually growing and making the place more prosperous. But like you said, it's a hard juggle. But for me, the reason I asked that question before about do you think we've failed? It's, to me, looking from the outside, and a lot of the times, a lot of people make comments when they don't have all the information. But as everyone sort of moves along, I think it seems to be getting worse and worse with some of the decisions that get made. It just doesn't seem to flow. We don't have that critical infrastructure being spent anymore. And when we do try and make something, it always seems to be held up for a green tree frog or a white-toed snail or something. It's always seems to be why we can't do something rather than why we can do something.
Yeah, it's a good point. But what's interesting, I think depends if you've got an open mind and you look at what's happening around you. It can be a little bit daunting, but I sit back and you've got to recalibrate all the time and look at what the federal government and state governments are doing, not only in Queensland or across the country, but in other states, and look at the battles of the money and the GST, and now they've got to adjust their budgets to try and pay for this COVID virus sort of compensation to different people and individuals that have lost their job, and just to keep money in the economy and cogs turning. Very, very tough. Very tough for anybody sitting in those seats, making decisions on who gets what. And small businesses paying a huge price right now
absolutely.
in relation to being caught in the crossfire of trying to stay afloat. They've got equipment on lease, they're paying lease for their sites or their facilities they're using, vehicles, and trying to pay people and keep their teams together so they can roll out again when they're allowed to get into full swing. But when I look across Townsville with the new, the ring road, the port access road, the port expansion, the new TAFE college with that beautiful building there at Pimlico, great investment, and the private sector investment with the Mater Hospital and the new stadium and the sports excellence facility is already under construction. And you see what the stadium did on those two occasions when we had the first Cowboys game, Elton John, and the amount of people in the city finally getting out there and enjoying what people enjoy in the big cities in the south, and seeing people coming in from Mackay and Mount Isa to have a weekend here in the city and visit Magnetic Island. They're big game changers and makes Townsville a destination in Northern Australia. And it's a shame we couldn't keep it rolling with the airlines.
Yeah, it looked as though things were, on the upturn in terms of our economy, considering what we had been through. Now, I guess one question that I have for you, Les, in your personal opinion, what do you think we face now? Obviously you're in local government, you're one of our elected representatives. In the next 4 years, what do we face, do you think, and how are we going to address it?
Local government's always has to be agile, very, very, very agile, fast, and adaptive in relation to people's needs and wants. So we've got to focus on the needs and the wants. And we've got emerging and changing industries and things like the optic fibre networks, the NBN, how people do business when there's a virus. We're relying on these networks today, and for those that are working from home, and it's stressed. So moving forward, we need to look at the NBN. I think it hasn't really met the expectations. When you go overseas and you see they've had it for years, the optic fibre network to their homes, having it to the node, in my case, is 1 kilometre away. So I have copper from there to here, which is a problem. And you've already struggled today trying to keep this alive. And we shouldn't be, because our population's not that big, but our problem is we've got big distances. Unless we get that right, we won't be able to compete on an international stage when we can do a lot of business on the net, and it's highly reliable in relation to, well, people are highly reliable on it to do business. The system's not reliable, but we need to look at how our telecommunications move forward. Water, how we start making Townsville a more livable place. It is livable, but we have to start adapting to the warmer climates, more shade, and get into the green energy space really quickly. We were a leader in 2007 as the first city to be recognised nationally as Solar City. I was a part of that with Tony Mooney, and that went through to 2013. We've got to be leaders in a lot of areas quickly, and so people look at Townsville. We have got some very, very smart people here, like the guys that did safety culture. We've got Trent from Solar Relief, and there's so many others. There's a company here that does syrups for the catering industry. There's people doing makeup. There's very clever food creators here. Big pie manufacturers that are a national brand. We've got so much happening here, but what we don't do well is making sure that we are on the national stage with what we do.
I've always said we've got so much untapped potential, and you've just listed off so many areas.
And defence industry is the emerging space, and looking at how we move forward with the Singapore deal, that is going to be a game changer. That's a lot of money. It puts us on the international stage for all the right reasons, and we're going to get a lot of clever industries out of that moving forward in the digital age. But on a local level, what we need to do is start getting connectivity back in with our bikeways, walkways, more barbecues, because people will want to come out, and we're going to have to start, I suppose, getting social fabric back meshed again, because it's torn from a flood and the virus. So we need to get the social fabric amended with more social infrastructure, like our play equipment, barbecues, some lighting, some bikeways, some dog parks. I know they're the basics, and I think we'll do that well over the next 4 years of our focus, and that'll give us a brand and a lifestyle that Townsville will be well and truly known for. And we've got to get into placemaking. So these suburbs with our entry statements become a bit tribal. People love their suburbs. You know, I'm from this neck of the woods, and so-and-so's from another neck of the woods. And we see that a lot in Melbourne and Sydney, where people are born and growing up. You know, if they're Westies, or they're from the North Coast, or they're from the foreshores of Sydney. But it's important that we give people some sort of place to call home and brand themselves and become tribal, and be very, very proud of where they live. And Townsvillians are very, very proud and tough, because we've proven in the floods, and here we go again 12 months later, getting belted, and they're not even back on their feet from the floods. And people are, you know, doing it for the money they've got and the insurance battles they've had. They're up against it even more. And small business is absolutely copping a flogging.
Yeah, it sure is.
I tell you, some of these businesses aren't going to come back, and we need to be there for them. And there's a lot of mental health issues behind that. We've got to be very, very careful.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I've got a bit of a, sorry, Brendan, you can jump in. Sorry.
I was just going to say, when all the restrictions are lifted, what's the, you know, what's people's reactions going to be? Do you think they're going to rush out and start spending again, or do you think it's going to be a slow start again?
Brendan, it's a very, very good question. It's a brilliant question, because I think we've learned new habits sitting at home. That is shopping online. And that's going to hurt retail. People have learned how to survive using the net to get the things they need. And they've learned that the simple things in life are pretty good. You know, sitting at home, having the barbecue, having a conversation, and making things happen in an internal way. So talking on the net, FaceTiming and all those sorts of things. So, yeah, some people will rush out and want to party, the younger generation may go out there and go pretty hard early. Some people have learnt to save a few dollars. The gambling sector's been absolutely hammered, and people are spending money on food and doing all the right things with their money. In some cases, the gambling with poker machines and Keno and a few others, that's really dropped off. And I think they said it was $7 million a day that is not going into the gambling sector and going back into other things that are more meaningful.
Is that nationwide or just in North Queensland?
I think I'm not quite. I don't know.
Because the only reason I asked that because I heard a number of 38 million.
The nation, I'd say.
Nation. Oh, I heard 38 million nationwide per day.
Because it'd be in the billions of dollars every year. But I still they've got these different state governments actually offering a buyback on the poker machines right now if the different clubs want to surrender them. So because I don't think people are going to rush back to them in a hurry. They're broken the habit in some cases, and that's not a bad thing. But people are entitled to have a social outing. I'm not saying how people should live, but I think some people have recalibrated their lives in relation to your question, and that is how they spend their money, how they spend their time, and they probably realise they spend more time now on social media than ever before, and less time at the shops and gambling outlets and spending in the local businesses, and that's what's going to hurt local business. Shopping habits have changed. These businesses have lost income, so their leases are under pressure, their equipment's under pressure, and they've lost a lot of valuable staff along the way.
I do think in saying all that, there's a couple of people who are probably looking forward to going back to the pub, have a beer with their mates. I know I would be.
Nanette, you want to go out and buy more shoes.
Oh, yes. Look, I'm really intrigued, just to change the topic totally. Les, who inspires you and who has inspired you in your life? I'm really curious.
I thought we skipped that question somewhere.
No.
Look, some people wouldn't agree, but look, the Obamas and the Keatings of the world, in recent time, Malcolm Turnbull's been quite interesting. There's a lot of sports people. Stephen Bradbury is an amazing story, and people would think he was just lucky. And if you really look at his story as an ice skater, as a professional champion ice skater, he'd won a gold medal in the World Championship back in the 90s, and he'd actually earned the right to be there.
Yeah.
And forget about them falling over. He was in the final. So number one, he earned the right to be in that final. Yeah. If they want to fight out the front and think it's in the bag, and he sat, he was stuck where he was patient. He got the gold. And I think we can learn a lot from that. You don't have to be overly ambitious and vicious in trying to get to the front. You can work hard, chip away, and take the bad time, because he had a few bad issues leading up to that, so he missed out on some things along the way. And he's come out, and this man has got a gold medal, one of the best gold medals to have in your cabinet in the world. And I think you can learn a lot from that, a hell of a lot. And I think it's good for your students to learn and have a look at that story and do a bit of research, because it's a good story.
It is a great story.
I've actually had the opportunity to hold that gold medal of his.
Oh, wow.
He to Townsville, and he handed out at one of the Cowboys luncheons, and everybody got to touch the gold medal, over 600 people.
Yeah,
what was interesting, he let it go into the crowd, hoping that it would come back, and it did. Yeah. Because we're in Townsville.
Of course, absolutely.
It was amazing, but it was an amazing story. And then you got to look at the Keatings of the world that floated the dollar, superannuation, and created personal wealth for everybody to look forward to a happy retirement. I know people might have issues with Keating as a personality, but a very dynamic and clever man, and people's personal wealth today. There's a big thank you to Paul Keating. So thank God we've got super, and some people are tapping into it right now to save their lives.
10,000, and they can do it next round as well, apparently up to 20,000 if they need to.
Yeah,
so,
and that's important.
Is it tax-free too?
I think some people are saying it's tax-free. I haven't really got right into the detail on that, because you've got to be careful tapping into it. But the other reason I say Obama, he tried and did it with the health, getting an affordable health system in for those that don't have health insurance. And if you've been to the States, it's a big problem. It's a massive problem. And that's why you'll find people dying from these viruses, because they can't afford
access it
to see a doctor. And it's a very, very sad situation in the States when you have to have health insurance. We're lucky here. If you don't have it, you can still see a doctor.
Yeah, we are very lucky.
And that's, I think that was a Keating thing as well, Medicare. So people, we need to reflect on what not lucky, it's just that people elected these people into positions with policies that they like. It's a bit like water and big infrastructure. People will push these policies in their campaigns that are game changers.
The next question I have, is about you as a politician. Now, what's the best and the worst thing about what you do?
I love helping people.
Yeah.
One of the most touching ones was we had a major storm. I think it was a cyclone after one big event, and a lady had lost power, and she was reliant on medication. It might have been some sort of insulin, and had to be kept at a temperature. And she'd lost power, and she was just about to lose all her medications. It was life-saving material. And we got ice and eskies, and we got her into a position where she could maintain the right temperatures for her medications. And we got the power back on, and it was a game changer for her, because I'd hate to think where she was mentally, where the medication was no longer going to be available to save her life. They're the little things that matter. Matter to me, matter to them. Knowing that you can be in a position that people can turn to you for help when they just can't think of anybody else, or all else has failed. And you hope you can come up with a solution. During the floods, I had the phone calls of people sitting on the roofs looking for help from the SES, keeping them calm at midnight via Facebook or FaceTime and phones, and reassuring them that help is on its way. And they're the things that are really exciting for me, when you can make it, not so much make a difference, but you're there for them. You're there for them, that they can rely on you, And you have to be now on social media. People don't ring. They put a post up on Facebook, hoping that you're going to be there to answer it when you're not. But the hardest
about the downside, or the hard part.
Social media's got a lot to answer for. It can be quite cruel, as you know, Nanette. It can be quite cruel, and they're faceless. And over time, those faceless people will eventually be no more, because they'll have a face recognition technology where if you're going to set up an account, you'll have to face recognize a person, and that's how the account will be established. But I think social media is quite tough. People are quite cruel.
It's a double-edged sword, isn't it? There's so much positives to it, but there's so much negatives to it. And you see,
and defame people, defame good people, like really cruel and affect your mental health. I've had dark moments when you go, why? What is it all for? But then you've got to tell yourself that the big majority of people out there are good people. Very good people. You've probably got these bloody, 0.5%ers out there that are absolute losers, that are so angry and with life that they've got to make other people unhappy. And that's what we're here for, to help them to be happy. So you just got to remind yourself, you're here for all the right reasons. And if you can keep doing good business, and that's what one of my mentors said to me some years ago, do good business and eventually it will come back to you, and people will see you for who you are. So don't change. Keep chipping away. Even if people don't believe in what you do, your style or how you work, eventually they'll go, you know what? He was right. Or I like what he's doing. I understand why he does that, or she does that. So definitely. Don't change your ways because people want to mold you into something else, or want to belt you into something else, or change your thought process. You do good business, good mentors, keep chipping away, because there's a lot of good people out there that appreciate the good things that you do. You will make mistakes, and put your hand up and say, I stuffed that up. And so always say sorry, and you'll fix it, or you've learned from it. If you can learn to say sorry and apologise for your mistakes as well, it's so much easier. But look,
people appreciate it a lot more, don't they?
Yeah, absolutely. And Townsville people are amazing. And I've been here all my life. I'm lucky. I'm very, very lucky. But look, I love what I do, but there are some nasty pieces of work out there, and they're not going to change.
No. Yeah. No, thank you for sharing that. I really appreciate it. You alluded to some mentors, a mentor. Do you want to tell us a bit more about this particular mentor or another one?
Well, my father's a mentor. When you're growing up, you learn a lot from your parents and your father. And in cycling, I was a track cyclist in velodromes and did a lot in the cycling world. But then when I was working at Clynton Youth Detention Centre, I had a gentleman there that was always talking about, win on your own abilities, don't have a go at people and try and knock them down to make yourself look good. Just keep chipping away, work on your style, work on what you believe in, and demonstrate through your own actions what your true value is and your values as you move forward. So if you can keep doing that, other people will copy that. And along the way, if you've got people that you like certain things they do, learn that or take that, what they do, and put it in your toolbox. So along the way, you have a life's toolbox where you collect little tools from different people on how they deal with situations or communication styles, and you put that in your toolbox. And one day you might be able to pull it back out and use it. So look, just believe in yourself, have good values, do good business, and show yourself on your abilities, and you will never go wrong.
Yeah, good advice there, Les. Thank you very much.
No, you're welcome. No, thank you for the opportunity. It's been a bit fun.
No, look, Les, really appreciate you again taking the time to come and talk to us and to be in this live stream show, our very first, and we'll be holding this every week. We'll invite different people. Some people are notables. Some will be just, you and I that walk the streets of the North.
There's a lot of good people out there, yes.
There are a lot of good people out there, and I really appreciate you being so open and to share your insights and things like that too. I do hope that you come back to our show in the near future. Yeah,
it's a great idea, Nanette and Brendan. It's I think keep doing it. It's been enjoyable. I've had a bit of fun.
That's
and
good.
I think more people should be involved in what you are doing, because there's some great stories out there. And
there
very
are wonderful
people.
stories. Yeah,
that's the biggest thing. But
cancer research.
Sorry.
Absolutely. The average person just wants to be heard, and that's one of the things. We had Clynton on here before, and same deal. Like just average people want to have a yarn and have a talk, and it's good that people can not only share stories but share ideas, and it's
and advice, which Les has today to so many of us or whomever will watch this. So thank you again, Les, and you enjoy your long weekend. I hope you're going to do something, perhaps go water skiing or something, hey? Now that we're allowed
to. I've got some painting to do out here. I'm just going to finish off the handrails, and they've been waiting for a coat of paint for about 8 years, so I'll get that sorted out.
Well, enjoy your painting, and we'll talk again sometime in the future.
Good on you, Les.
Thanks, guys.
Cheers,
all the very best.
Bye-bye.
Thanks,
Cheers.
Brendan. Bye.
Thanks, mate. See ya.
Okay, Brendan. He was great, wasn't he?
Yeah, no, good insight. Good insight into a lot of different things, and being in that local government, obviously, it's a position that people can make a change, and that's why when you get positive people into those roles, it's a good thing, because they can make a difference for a lot of good different people. So.
Yes, I was quite intrigued about the work that he'd done on the Burdekin Dam too. That was some interesting stories in there, and I hope that down the track we'll have a show and we'll talk about dams in the north and have a lot of good discussion around Hell's Gate Dam, because it's something you and I do know a lot about, and we might even be able to get Bob Catter on here. That would be good.
Yeah, Bob will enjoy something like this.
Yeah, you would. Absolutely. All right. Would you like to make any other comments before we leave, Brendan?
No, the only one I'd like to thank is Core Engineering for sponsoring this one. So Callan Orr, he was able to sponsor this first show. For any other people that want to be a part of this and help out, just let us know. But thanks a lot, Callan. It's much appreciated. All the support.
Thank you, Callan. That was fabulous. All the support we get is, warmly welcomed. And of course, anybody who wishes to come on the show and talk, it's noon every Saturday. And we'll, obviously talk about the main topics for the week in the north and, other issues, and bring in some people to talk about topics as well from all walks of life. And that's, I think, the real advantage of something like this. Seems like we've sort of ironed out our little technical issue.
Yeah, I'm not sure what happened early on.
No, I don't know. Well, I am in Alice River, so who knows? It could be something to do with technology, definitely, in terms of the hookup. But thank you very much, everybody. And before we go, I just have to play this again. Yeah, well. Okay, until next week. It's a long way to the top if you want to rock and roll.
No worries. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for coming by, and thanks a lot, Nanette. Much appreciated.
Okay, cheers.
See ya.